Urtet is a sweet new legendary mirror lord that, oddly enough, didn't get a precon. Like me, you may have been confused as to why this was. After watching the professor's video about his own precon called Counter Blessings, I was inspired to make my own. Modified Remnants is a pre-constructed deck that at the time of this recording is worth $40.81. This deck is perfect for playing in playgroups that enjoy the precon experience. Later on in the video, we'll look at about $150 worth of upgrades. Some of these cards are pretty expensive just because they have to do with mirror. So what's the game plan of Modified Remnants? Urtet's ability puts 3 counters on each mirror you control. Once your team has counters on them, they are considered to be modified, and that's where the real fun begins. But first, the mirror. What mirror deck wouldn't be complete without the mana producing mirror? Perfect for activating Urtet. Mir, young and old, will be joining this precon, and one of my favorites of these is Mir Kinsmith, which has the ability to search your library for any mirror, and it puts it into your hand instead of the top of your library. Knighted Mir is another one that I really like here, since it will gain double strike when we activate Urtet. Now that we have our mirror and some counters on them, what next? We've got some super spicy cards that use the modified mechanic like Kami of Celebration and Tawashi Guidebot for card advantage. Tyrant Guard will give our team hexproof and indestructible. My favorite payoffs are the Winged Hive Tyrant and Sigarda's Summons, which will give our creatures with counters on them flying. Sigarda's Summons is hilarious since our mirror will get an insane buff in addition to flying. Herald of Secret Streams straight up makes our creatures with counters unblockable. Let's talk about some other support cards that would enable our counter strategy. I want to start off with Blaster Combat DJ. This is going to give our artifact creatures modular, meaning our mirror will enter already modified. And then when those mirror die, they can transfer their counters over to other mirror. That's just straight value. Speaking of enabling, Invigorating Hot Spring will give our modified creatures haste, but can also put counters on some of our mirror if we need to enable the modified mechanic. The Flesh is weak, another great way to put counters on our team immediately, in addition to hitting non-artifact creatures. Takasia Digsite Mentor seems a little out of place here, but she gives our team vigilance. Really great for getting in the red zone and then tapping them to activate Urtet for extra damage. The second ability is icing on the cake though. We can return a good chunk of mirror to the battlefield after a board wipe with this card. Silk Guard can enable our modified shenanigans and protect our creatures. And another card I want to talk about here is Lux Artillery, which is going to give our mirrors Sunburst. So essentially, however much mana we put into them, if we use separate mana, they'll gain extra +1/+1 counters. But if we have 30 or more counters, we get to deal 10 damage to each opponent at the beginning of our end step. Depending on how often we can activate Urtet, this could very well deal a ton of damage to the table. And finally, we have a Johnny the Great-Hearted. This Planeswalker is going to enable our modified plan and give our team vigilance. We do have a few non-counter ways to buff our creatures like Urza, Prince of Krug, Tempered Steel, one of my favorites, and Unctus Grand Metatect can let us sift through our library a little bit. These combined with our counters should be plenty to get our mirror over the finish line. And lastly, I want to talk about some card advantage that we have in the deck. Trading Posts, since we can sacrifice the tokens that we make with Urtet. Clan Crafter, another great way to sacrifice those extra mirror we're making, and it makes our Urtet bigger. So with this card, Urtet could potentially deal a lot of damage. Monumental Corruption, another new card that will allow us to draw X cards and lose X life, where X is the number of artifacts we control. And then Deadly Dispute, another way to sacrifice one of our mirror token and get a little extra card advantage. Now that we've seen the deck, let's talk upgrades. I want to start off with a rather small mirror who is pretty cheap, but has the potential to go infinite if we make a copy of it. And I'm talking about Mirror Galvanizer. You can use Urza or March of Progress to make a copy of it. And then if you can make 2 mana with your mirror, you can make infinite mana and potentially activate Urtet 1,000,000 times, or however many you want to. For this reason, it was not added to the precon, but would make a fun upgrade. Metallic Mimic is perfect for the deck since it can enable our modified in addition to being a mirror itself, but unfortunately it's a little too expensive to be included in the original precon. Realmwalker and Mirror Entity are 2 shapeshifters that will greatly enhance the deck with some extra card advantage as well as pumping up the team. A lot of creature type matters cards here with Kindred Discovery, Shared Animosity, Pact of the Serpent, and Kindred Dominance, all great for enhancing our mirror-themed deck. And then next up we have mirror-specific cards that for some reason cost way too much. Mirror Matrix, Mirror Turbine, and Mirror Reservoir all play into our mirror plan perfectly. And then we've also got a few more generic pump cards, stuff like Door to Destinies and Cathar's Crusade. Fantastic. Especially since Cathar's will trigger 2 times because of the token mirror that Urtet makes. A few other upgrades I would consider are Mirrored and Besieged, since we can use it as a potential win con, but I think the main thing we're going to want to do is the first ability where we can make an additional mirror when we cast our mirrors. Radiant Destiny so we can pump, and then Etchings of the Chosen gives our team a pump in addition to being protection for our mirror. And then of course, you can't go wrong with a little bit of extra removal too if you need it. Thanks for watching, guys. If you end up building the deck, I hope you enjoy playing it against your friends. I'm Jacob, and this is Opal Wave MTG. Until next time.